You won't believe this. A machine built a century ago, when electricity was rare, cars were slow, and the world was still learning engineering, starts today with a single push, and the entire room shakes with raw power. This is the hidden strength of a 100-year-old steam engine. And what you're about to see will change the way you think about old machines forever. Imagine standing in front of something that should not even be alive anymore. The metal is dark, the bolts are rusted, the pipes look like they belong in a museum. But the moment steam touches its veins, it doesn't whisper, it roars. The ground beneath your feet trembles, the pistons move like a heartbeat, and for a moment you forget this thing has lived for an entire century without giving up. This engine was once the backbone of factories, mills, and workshops. It powered giant machines, lifted tons of weight, and kept production alive long before modern engines were even imagined. And today, 100 years later, it still runs smoother than many new machines we build now. But how is that possible? What secret power was placed inside this engine that made it survive the test of time? The story begins with its craftsmanship. Back in the early 1900s, engineers did not trust electricity fully. They didn't have computer simulations, they didn't have advanced metals, and they didn't have fancy machines to check precision. Everything was hand-measured, hand-cut, and hand-built. Every bolt was tightened by feel, every pipe was aligned with skill, not sensors. This is why the engine looks heavy, tough, and oversized, because it was built to last, not to sell fast. You feel that durability when the flywheel starts spinning. Slowly at first, then faster, until the entire machine moves like a giant awakening from a long sleep. You can hear the rhythmic chuff 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 as steam pushes the piston back and forth. The timing, the motion, the balance, none of it seems 100 years old. It feels alive, powerful, confident, and the most shocking part, the engine still produces enough torque to power modern equipment. It's not weak, not slow, not struggling. It runs as if it wants to prove something. That age means nothing when engineering is honest and pure. People who witness it for the first time often freeze in disbelief. How can something this old still work so perfectly? The answer becomes clear when you get close. The metal is thick, the parts are simple, and the design is brilliant. The fewer the complications, the fewer the failures. This engine was built in an era where machines were made to survive wars, storms, and generations of use. And then comes the moment everyone waits for, the release of full steam pressure. The engineer pulls a lever, the valve opens, and suddenly the engine explodes with motion. The piston slams forward with controlled aggression, the flywheel spins so fast the air hums around it, and the belts connected to it start powering tools like drills, cutters, pulleys, and even generators. A single engine controlling an entire workshop, just like it did a century ago. The smell of old oil, hot metal, and fresh steam fills the air. It's the scent of history waking up. You can't help but feel respect. This is not just a machine, it is a living memory of engineering's golden age. Even after all these years, the alignment is perfect. The crankshaft rotates without wobbling. The bearings glide smoothly. The giant wheel maintains balance even at high speed. Modern engines struggle after a few years of heavy use, but this one has been sitting for decades, untouched, yet comes back to life with almost no resistance. And when you place your hand on the metal body, you feel a steady vibration. Not violent, not shaky, just a calm, powerful rhythm. Like the heartbeat of something ancient but proud. A reminder that some creations outlive their creators. Why does it still work so well? Because old steam engines were built using over-engineering, meaning they were made stronger than necessary. If the engine needed 1 inch of metal, they used 3. If a part needed 100 psi of pressure, they made it tolerate 500. Everything was oversized, over-supported, and over-protected. Modern manufacturing cuts weight, saves cost, and uses thinner material. But back then, durability mattered more than anything. People built machines the way people build legends, slowly, carefully, and with the intention that they should last forever. That intention is what you witness when the engine runs at full power. There is no hesitation, no weakness, no sound of struggle. The smoothness is unbelievable. The power delivery is consistent. The reliability is unmatched. A century of silence, yet a century of strength stored inside every bolt and beam. And the most impressive detail. The design is so simple that even after 100 years, a few drops of oil and a bit of steam are enough to wake it up. As the engine continues to run, the room around it begins to feel like a time machine. You can almost hear the old workers shouting orders, machines cutting wood, belts turning, factories buzzing. This single engine once powered entire industries. And now, after a century, it still has enough force to run those same machines. The giant flywheel becomes a symbol of unstoppable momentum. Once it gains speed, it stores energy like a spinning battery. That stored power helps the engine run smoother, reduces fuel loss, and keeps everything in balance even if the load changes suddenly. This old technology is something modern engineers still study because it achieved efficiency with almost no electronics. You notice the steam lines shaking gently as pressure builds. Small drops of water drip down the pipes, sizzling instantly when they touch the hot metal. The piston rod moves like a polished silver arm, sliding perfectly despite its age. The sound it makes is hypnotic, an ancient rhythm that once powered the world. But here's the real hidden power, something most people don't realize. This 100-year-old engine is not just running, it's teaching. It teaches that engineering excellence never dies. It teaches that durable design is timeless. It teaches that when humans build with passion, even a century later, the creation still stands strong. The man who restored the engine says he barely had to replace anything. Just cleaned a few parts, oiled the bearings, checked the seals, and that was enough. The original parts are still in place. Original metal, original bolts, original craft. And when he starts increasing steam pressure, the engine responds instantly. No delay, no complaining, no vibration spikes. Just pure, controlled power. You realize that this old iron giant has more discipline than many modern machines. The belts attached to the flywheel begin turning various tools, saws, polishers, grinders. Each of them starts with a slight jerk, then moves smoothly as the engine adapts to the load. The torque delivery is so strong and stable that the tools run effortlessly. This was the magic of early industry, one engine powering multiple workstations at once. The workshop fills with nostalgia. The sound becomes music, the motion becomes art. People watching from a distance pull out their phones, shocked at how smoothly an antique machine can run. Some smile, some shake their heads in disbelief, and some walk closer, trying to understand how such old technology still dominates. The engine slows down for a moment as the pressure dips, but then, like a living creature taking a deep breath, it regains full strength. The flywheel keeps momentum stable, the piston strokes remain consistent, and the steam valve adjusts itself naturally. No sensors, yet perfect balance. No computer, yet flawless timing. And then comes the emotional part. You realize this machine has lived longer than its makers. It has seen wars, storms, shutdowns, dust, neglect, and still stands strong. It carries the fingerprints of old engineers who trusted their hands more than technology. Standing next to it, you don't just feel power, you feel history. This engine is a message from the past that whispers, when humans build with heart, their work becomes immortal. The steam begins to fade, the pressure lowers, and slowly the engine starts relaxing. The piston slows, the flywheel becomes gentle, and eventually the machine stops, quiet, peaceful, like a giant falling asleep again. But the silence is different now. It's not the silence of a dead machine. It's the silence of a beast waiting for its next awakening. And the best part, with only a little steam, it will rise again. 100 years old, 100 years strong, 100 years of hidden power still alive inside it.